Hello, today I'm joined by my very special guest, Mr. Kristjan Byfield from the Depositary. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, my man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. I've enjoyed seeing you in person this week. You did a wonderful job at the conference. There is a video circulating.
It's very kind of you to
If
lie
anybody,
like that. Yeah.
if anyone wants to see it. But back to business. There is always
I love your voice in the middle of it. If you close your eyes, it's like Freddie's okay.
I had to add that in. It's
If Freddie had been run over by a truck and, yeah,
it
probably
was it was
close.
it was a good rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a hard song to pull off without full backing and stood there on your own on the stage. It's not easy, is it?
Look, I can say I've sung on Wembley stage. It's a tick in the box, and that was the main reason for doing it, and it was all for a good cause for charity. So,
No, you did an amazing job, and you do tons and tons for good causes and charities. But you also do some sterling work back at the office
occasionally.
for the depository. Every time I talk to you, I mean, you said we've got a little WhatsApp group going, and you'll occasionally go, exciting new thing that we're releasing. We're just
Exciting
working on
news!
this partnership. Let's talk about this and let's talk about that. So I think it's been a while since we've checked in with you. I What we want to know is what's new at the depository, and tell us about your newest push and your newest add-ons that you're now bringing into the depository.
Yeah, so I think last time we spoke properly about the depository was a couple of months ago when we announced our latest two new inventory partner integrations. But then since then, I mean, the last 3-4 months we've been working on what actually has been 4 releases. It's 4 separate releases that have ended up being bundled into one. There's a lot of nice little tiny things happening in the background, just tidying up little bits and pieces of the platform. But really, the two big pieces of news, we're really excited to be able to announce our new partner integration with My Deposits. So that will go live on Monday morning. And that will mean any agent that uses My Deposits, either insured or custodial scheme, will now be able to benefit from the full efficiencies and benefits that our platform gives them.
And so that's very similar to the sort of integrations that you've had for a long time with people like the TDS. It's the same sort of functionality.
That's right. So we launched originally with TDS. We did a 2-year exclusivity with them. We've spent kind of the last year just doing a lot of housekeeping and adding other bits and pieces in whilst working with My Deposits on what that would look like. And we've now rolled that out. So there's some really nice bits in terms of you'll put in your My Deposit certificate and we'll auto-populate the deposit amount straight from the My Deposit system. When you conclude a tenancy with us, whether it's insured or custodial, we will auto-conclude the deposit certificates for you. For custodial, we'll send over all the reconciliation information to them. And again, much like our TDS one, if a tenancy does end up going to dispute, we help agents by creating and uploading the dispute file to My Deposits. We don't try not to focus on it too much, but the average agent disputes is around kind of 2 or 3% of tenancies. So we never sort of really focus on this on a big thing. But I think any agent who hears the word dispute file, kind of a little cold shudder goes down the back
Yeah.
of their neck because they think about that really interesting 1, 2, 3.
Are you saying we avoid confrontation? Don't be silly.
I don't know that we avoid confrontation, but the thought of, I mean, dispute files generally just means spending 1 to 4 hours
Yeah.
really repeating everything you've done, going through all your emails, all your notes, everything, and compiling it. Because of the way our system works, we sort of capture that stuff as it happens. So for us, a dispute file can literally be 3 clicks of a mouse and you're done. So it can quite literally take seconds. But, we don't focus on that. But for us, that we always set out, we have always aspired to be a whole market product. Our big ambition is to try and create a digital standard when it comes to tenancy conclusions, regardless of whether you're with one of the 3 deposit schemes in England or Wales, or you use an alternative product, or you're in an unregulated or non-housing act tenancy. So, this is a a big step in the right direction. What's been really nice to see is my deposits have been just as keen to join us as we have to join them.
Yeah.
They see some of the statistics we're putting out now. We're quite regularly sharing that live data screen that we've got in our office. I think we're currently sat at 11-day deposit returns over the last 30 days by our agents. At one point, about 2 weeks ago, we were down to 9 days for about a week, which was very exciting, single digits. But, 11 days we're really proud of. That's pretty much exactly 50% faster than the national average.
I mean, I suppose the unspoken truth to all of this, as well as that, and then they may not talk about this openly, but using something like the depository is going to take away that friction that sometimes does come up when there's a dispute, and the chances of that then getting into an arbitration process or actually hitting their sort of mediators back at these various different deposit companies is going to be reduced, isn't it, in terms of?
I mean, at the moment, I think we're seeing sort of kind of two halves of the market. The smaller agencies, we are seeing their disputes kind of stay the same, maybe reduce ever so slightly. For our biggest clients, we have seen a small upturn, truth be told. But that's kind of because our platform is constantly chasing people. So, like all products, you need to make sure you're using it right to make sure you get the best benefits from it. And there's a couple of things we're looking at for that to try and potentially bring those numbers down a little bit. Because I think when we looked at the framework around that originally with TDS, it was a very consumer focus, and actually it was TDS originally that kind of very much said, look, we want consumers to be able to raise disputes through your platform, and this is our recommended framework. So and that very much aligned with us. We wanted to build a platform that wasn't we didn't want to create a tool that agents could kind of cheaply leverage in a inappropriate, it's not the right word, but we're trying to embrace best practice at all steps of the process. And so we've tried not to give people the ability to leverage our platform in a way that we wouldn't like. So but no, I mean, the feedback with agents pretty much, across the board is, we do what we say on the tin. It takes a lot of legwork off property managers and lettings administrators' desks. We've had some really lovely comments from people saying, they've been doing the job for 5, 10 plus years, and it's the first time they've really felt totally in control of the process. We get feedback that they're having much nicer, more rational conversations with tenants rather than it going sort of nuclear quicker. So we are succeeding in removing the emotion. So yeah, we're heading in the right direction, and we're really excited. And we're constantly listening to what our agents want as well. So as I said, there's a lot of little things coming out in this release, which are lots of funny little things that over the last few weeks, months, year, we've had agents go, oh, when we do this, it'd be really nice if it did that, or if we didn't have to do this. Every time an agent says anything like that to us, it goes on a spreadsheet. We have a spreadsheet with about 100 things on it, and they could be big ideas like, oh, we're going to plug in AI to do this, or it could be, could this button be a little bit bigger? And we keep that sheet constantly. We try and keep it in what we kind of think is some sort of priority. But then what's nice is we will either say, right, this next month we're going to focus our dev on doing some of these things, and we'll sit down with our dev partner and we'll go, right, guys, what out of this list? How many things from this list can we get in? And we will usually try and do a mixture of small, medium, and large things. So there's a bit of everything in there.
Because for the uninitiated in the world of dev, things that seem very simple to the likes of you and I actually are far more complicated and always end up taking long dev work. And for anybody out there that's watching this and looking at Kristjan as an example of how agents can just nip out and start up a prop tech company in their lunchtime, it doesn't work that way, does it? There is a lot of work and a lot of development work, and managing that dev is
Oh, and
not,
look,
isn't it?
you know, we've built a very complex system that gives agents a lot of customization, a lot of options. We keep adding in more and more partners, new processes, new workflows, and all that means is there are more and more iterations. I mean, Carla, bless her, we've nearly broken Carla the last week or two because literally for the last 2 weeks, all she's been doing is try test after test of just different permutations. Oh, what if it's on this scheme insured, that scheme custodial? What if the agent uses an integrated inventory partner or doesn't? You know, like, oh, what happens if they get to this stage and then actually they roll the deductions back? You know, so we have to look at all the different functionality and features we've got on there, and we do our best to try every different permutation to see if we can find these funny little gremlins that do get into the system. But yeah, I still get told off for saying the word just to our dev team. I just want to do this. They still tell me off. But look, yeah, it's definitely no easy journey. I mean, we spent close to 4 years building the platform before we felt it was ready to put in front of agents. We've been going another 3.5 years now. And we've probably done another 1,000 iterations to the platform in that time. Again, that could be anything from making a button bigger or moving a button to adding a major new feature. And that won't stop. You know, we already know what we're going to be doing over the next 6, 12, 18 months. We know roughly what that kind of roadmap looks like. We've got more inventory partners coming in. Like I said, we're talking to other products that go well with us. We're looking at the alternative deposit space because again, you know, the fact that is a part of the market. And
it's a fast growing part of the market, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is. And I think, you know, again, what we understand for agents is cash deposits might be 90% of your business, even if you know 80% of your business, and the other 10 to 20% might be deposit alternatives, might be non-housing act tenancies. But what we get as agents ourselves is really you want an all-encompassing system. You want to be able to conclude every tenancy of any type within one dashboard. You don't want to have to be reverting back to manual processes and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, we want to be able to give our agents options. We want them to have a choice of who they work with and what products they use and how they plug those in. But also we want to try and ensure that as much as possible, we can facilitate that through a single dashboard, a single platform. And again, from a consumer perspective, what we're then trying to do is, it doesn't matter whether a tenant's paid a cash deposit or paid an insurance product or whatever. The overall journey to leave a property, we're trying to make sure that there's still that same process.
I know this part is harder to do, and this question is not prepped in any way. I know it's easy to sort of get agents' feedback as to how your product is changing their process and changing their lives, and there is loads and loads of great feedback out there. Everybody that becomes a client of yours is seemingly a massive fan and very happy to talk about it. It would be super interesting for me to, at some point, try and get to the tenants who have benefited as well from this service, because there are tenants that must have rented properties, several properties over their lifetime, would have had previous experience with people that weren't using the depository, and I want to know how that would compare to their experience of a checkout with an agent that does use the depository, because I think that would be an interesting case study, because I would assume they must love it. The fact that this gives them information, there's a timeline, they're updated. They also feel a little bit element of control.
Yeah, I think, you know, we did before we rolled the platform out to agents, we did a lot of, because we used the platform within my lettings agency for 2 years. You know, really on a test case basis, just to really understand what worked and didn't work. And through that process, we did a lot of tenant feedback. It was always something we wanted to track, but again, I'm very much aware that agents are already quite often asking tenants for reviews and feedback on the agency. And I think we wanted to be very cautious, and we didn't want to tread on any agent's toes and in any way kind of distract a tenant from giving good feedback on the agency itself. You know,
Yeah.
we're very clear on the fact that, you know, we don't, as a platform, we don't have an ego. You know, we really want the agent to be front and center. That's why our platform can be completely white labeled. So it's a slightly tricky one. I mean, we do a lot of data analytics, looking at how tenants engage with the platform. We use this quite cool product which records people on our platform, and we constantly use that to try and look at how accessible the platform is, how intuitive the platform is. Because again, that was the scary thing building a platform for us is, you know, tenants and landlords who engage with our platform, particularly tenants, and particularly in the early stage of our platform, you know, it will be a one-off interaction. We don't get to sit down and explain to tenants what our platform is or what it does. We don't get to train them like we do our agents.
Yep.
So that was always a scary bit, putting a platform like that in front of tenants. But you know, where are we at now? We're on about 23,500 tenancies closed as of this morning. Seems to be going well. I think our agents are closing 52, 53 tenancies a day are being concluded on our platform. You know, and we expect to see that number keep growing. We've got some really nice agents in the pipeline at the moment about to come on. So that number will keep marching up and up.
And
Yeah,
presumably
we'd love to dip into the tenant community and get some really direct feedback. But yeah, I've just got to figure out how we do that, like I said, without treading on an agent's toes. But we keep an eye on quite a lot of our agents' Google reviews and things like that. And what's nice for us is we do quite often see, once in a blue moon, it will be all about the end of tenancy deposit return. Yeah. But quite often it'd be like, oh, you know, what a really lovely experience renting with this agent for the last 2 years, and it was great to get my deposit back so quickly. You know, we do see comments like that. And again, we're happy when we see that. We want to see the journey, the experience our platform gives tenants. We want to see that reflecting positively on the agents that work with us, on our agent community. And so when we see little comments like that, and when it's very much directed at the agent, we know we've really won there, because we've given that tenant what we hoped we would, but it's the tenant, it's the agent who's getting the credit for it. And that's what we always set out to do.
It's superb, and it's great. I suppose your audience of agents is now growing, because every time you launch a new integration with a different platform, you're opening that marketplace up a little bit more. So the agents that, for instance, were with My Deposits all of this time can now say, well, actually, we don't need to change deposit provider. We can come across to the Depositary now.
This is it. We had a few agents migrate deposit scheme in order to get onto our platform over the last few years, and that's been really exciting to see, because, you know, for all the stick agents are given about being reluctant to innovate and evolve, seeing an agent go through the workload of migrating all of their deposits and, you know, getting all those reissued prescribed information, everything, all for the sole purpose of getting onto our platform, which, yes, of course, ultimately benefits them. But it's still nice to see. I think there aren't many other products out there that had that kind of hurdle in front of it. So it was nice to see, you know, a handful of agents. I'm not gonna overstate it. There weren't swarms of agents moving over, but a handful of agents were willing and happy to do it, and we're glad they did it because of the benefits they get from the platform. So yeah, look, we're really excited. You know, My Deposits, great organization, quite a good tech stack they've got there. They're increasingly integrated on the deposit registration side with CRMs and other products like Flatfare and so on and so forth to streamline that. So, you know, agents are now getting some really nice top and tail efficiency within tenancies now, where, you know, more and more agents can register their deposits straight through their CRM. And then obviously we can streamline a lot of the end process. And obviously CRMs is where we will get to in the end. That's our end goal, but we've got a few more exciting things to do since then. But alongside My Deposits, which obviously for us, really important for us growing, the other probably the other biggest thing that we're rolling out is an upgrade to our meter reading utility area. So up until now, all we gather is meter reading data. That can either be put in manually, or we, through our integrations, pull that data out of the checkout report. But that was kind of really it. We've now, as of Monday morning, we'll now have the functionality where tenants will be asked to notify an agent who their suppliers are. They'll also be able to upload their latest or final bills into the platform. And also in terms of like void management, an agent will be able to guide the platform as to whether that should be set up, whether bills should be set up at the property address or at the agent's office address, care of the landlord. So again, this is all coming from feedback from our agents. You know, as letting agents ourselves, we know the utility management space it's never fun. It never goes as smoothly or as well as easy.
Especially in this climate, you know.
Especially in this climate, yeah, it hasn't helped things. So no, I mean, we've wanted agents who've wanted that for a while. A lot of agents like to get in final bills and like to get all that collated, and so this is just another manual task that we'll automate for our agents, and hopefully, you know, 70, 80, 90% of the time, maybe 100% of the time, we'll be capturing that data on their behalf without them even needing to think about it. So yeah, you know, those are the two big things. A big partner agreement for us, so we can now work in another part of the market, but also, you know, something our agents have been clamoring for a while, which hopefully removes another horrible daily task that PMs and
you know what, it's great, and I like sort of checking in with you from time to time, because you know it's grown from this baby, if you like, that had aims and ambitions, and every supplier that starts out always says the same thing. Oh, it's in dev, we're going to roll it out, it's expected, it's on our roadmap, and sometimes these roadmaps go on forever and you never see the end of the road. But with you guys, I think you've been fairly consistent on, whenever you can, really making this a more well-rounded product, and it's just growing.
Yeah, look, and you always have to juggle the balance of what, as you know, ultimately we are a business. So, you know, like any company, we have to juggle what we're doing and whether there's a commercial opportunity for us doing that, or whether this just gives our clients a better product. And there's an argument that actually giving your client a better product does generate revenue, because the better your product, the more sticky it is, and the more agents that use it, the more revenue you make.
Yeah.
Slightly less obvious journey, but it is that juggling act. You know, I mean, the utilities is an interesting one. You know, we originally planned to get that rolled out kind of end of last year, beginning of this year. But due to unexpected things happening elsewhere, and you know, market forces and so on and so forth, that's ended up coming out 6 months later than we had intended. But obviously that's because there's been lots of other things going on, and other features and functionality that we've rolled out in the meantime. So, you know, and as I mentioned before, we've still got this huge list of big and small things that, you know, we will get to. We are constantly listening, we are constantly tweaking, and that's a really important part. I think, you know, probably the biggest criticism I hear of any supplier, big or small, talking with my agent buddies with agent hats on, is, you know, all too often agents feel that when they contact their supplier, it just kind of is a drop in the ocean. It just gets put in a stack of papers somewhere, and you know, 2 years later, if they're lucky, they're like, oh, we're ready to do this now, and you know, things have moved on since then. So I think we try and make sure with all of our agents that they feel heard. We try and be honest. You know, if someone brings something to us and I really can't see us being able to viably do anything with that, I'll be quite frank with an agent and go, look, I think it's a lot more complicated than you think, and I can't see us doing that in the next year or 2 years. I
think that's some of the things that I hear mentioned about it as well, that your communication and the way that Carla, for instance, will deal with the agents on a day-to-day basis makes them feel heard, makes them feel supported. you know, they're there, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah, and you know, Carla's fantastic. She makes a real conscious effort to be regularly checking in with everyone, you know, both at a senior level and a kind of boots on ground level. Because obviously with the smaller agents, it's tighter teams, it's kind of, you know, you're really talking to the same 2 or 3 people every time. But, you know, as we go up the scale, and obviously, you know, at the opposite end, we've got Leaders Romans that's got, what, 450 property managers using our platform. Slightly different communication strategy. But Carla's brilliant in making sure that she stays in touch across the whole spectrum of users and just make sure they feel supported, listened to. You know, she'll constantly remind them about the free training sessions, the 2 free training sessions we run every week. For the slightly larger teams, you know, we offer free private training every quarter. You know, so we just keep nudging and reminding people about things like that. And again, that can all be bespoke. It can be, oh, look, you've got some new staff, let's train them top to tail. Or it can be, look, guys, we noticed that we're taking too long at this stage of the process. What can you do to help us refine that? But no, Carla is absolutely fantastic at that. And because of her background, you know, 8 years in agency CRM on the letting side, you know, she's now been with us 3 years. Nearly 4 years, 3 years, nearly 4 years now. You know, 12 years really, you know, boots on the ground. She probably knows lettings admin just as well as
she's certainly earned her stripes. Ask anybody, they'll tell you the CRM space is not easy. It's not easy because it's very much that front line of, you know, I need this and I need it to do that, and why can it not do, you know? And so the way that you deal with agents in that space has to be delicate. You have to be seen to be listening, not over promising and under delivering. But yeah, no, it's been interesting to see it evolve there, because obviously she's got a responsive product, because you all have a hand in shaping how it evolves, and it's great to see it all come together.
No, it's really exciting. So, you know, it's been 3 or 4 months doing this big release. We've all agreed we're never doing a release this big again. Like I said, it is about 4 releases lumped into one. So we definitely won't be waiting this long and doing one this big again. Hopefully more regular, smaller iterations going forward. But no, we're really excited. It's been 3 or 4 months really hard work. And we're just really excited to start working with My Deposits, take another step forward, start working with some other great agents, and yeah, keep kind of fighting the good fight, just trying to make the deposit return space a little bit better.
Well, let's keep checking in with you. I mean, I enjoyed the collection of shirts that you've got there. Where do they come from?
You know,
like, no, because they're colourful, they're generously proportioned.
They need to.
Now tell me, Kristjan, who's your tailor?
Yeah, I mean, a mixture of online and shops, but generally I'm a little bit, if I see something and I like it, I buy it. I don't buy myself a lot of stuff, but if I see something like this parrot bad boy, it has to be done.
It's impressive, unforgettable. Thank you very much for everything that you're doing, and thanks for checking in with us.
Buddy, thanks for your time, and yeah, talk soon.